Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. I just want to open the show with, we're having a lot of flooding events here in North Queensland, and I just want to say for all our family up there, please be safe. Don't go into floodwaters. You know, hopefully it's going to stop raining soon. Look, I know there's many other events happening around the world, and fires are still burning in California, and I know there's been flooding in France and places like that. So wherever you are in this planet of ours, please pay attention to the authorities. If you're in a turbulent weather event, please take notice and stay safe. So this week we're going to start the show with the Simply Tarot card of the week, and this was actually the very, very first card we designed in the tarot set many years ago now, over 20 years ago now. And the frangipani bush that is featured on the card as the wand actually came from my front garden, and it is actually my hand in the card. So we're pleased to propose the Simply Tarot card of the week is the Ace of Wands. Now, the Ace of Wands is new beginnings, birth of a baby, or new ideas and creation. Now, when this card comes out, we don't always give birth to a baby, so sometimes it's just birth of ideas or new beginnings or new opportunities. It's a very, very positive card to come out, particularly in a reading if you've been having a little bit of a troubled patch or things haven't been going quite the way that you would like them to. To have this card come out is sort of like it's washing over with positivity. I still smile today when I see this card come out in a reading because it just reminds me of the backdrop of the Gold Coast, which was the background this was shot from, that, you know, to be able to go down to the beach early in the morning, the sun's rising and it's a brand new day, and everything always looks more positive when the sun's shining, doesn't it? So if you get this card in a reading, no matter where it comes out, it is telling you that there's better days ahead. There's new beginnings, new opportunities, birth of new ideas, and it's up our thinking. No matter what your star sign is, we are all going to have to start to think about things that are very important in our lives in maybe a very different way. And maybe some of these ideas or things that are going to be presented by the powers that be or authorities or governments or countries aren't necessarily going to be palatable and aren't necessarily going to be to our taste, but we've got to learn to adjust and sort of look at it and say, okay, sometimes we've got to shake the snow globe up and we've got to have all those little sparkly snowy bits going everywhere before it settles, that, you know, we've got to shake things up. So if you look at this Pluto being in Aquarius like a snow globe and shaking everything up and sort of saying, okay, nothing is fixed and rigid, everything's up for grabs, everything's ready to be shaken up and sort of looked at in a different way. And then as the little pieces of glitter and snow start to settle in the snow globe, we're starting to see the direction that things maybe are going to take. So, you know, the snow globe might be sort of sparkly and snowy for quite some time before we start to see the flecks start to settle and start to see some semblance of order or direction of where our lives may be going personally. So that's going to affect each and every one of us. And as I said, Pluto in Aquarius is there for a very, very long time, well over 20 years. I think it's close on 40 years. I should look that up and get that precisely. But I mean, whether it's 20 years or 40 years is still a long time in our lifetime. So we move on to the major emphasis this week in the astrology chart, and most of it's sitting in Pisces. Now, it's really interesting when we get what's known normally, if there's three planets, a stellium of planets together, or we get a group of planets all sitting together. It's a very, very intense energy. It's not just for that particular star sign is the energy affecting. It affects each and every one of us, but it affects the other signs in different ways. What I mean by that is a much more watered down approach, not as intense as I'm going to describe about the Pisces energy and for the water sign energy. But for each and every one of us past that point, it sort of just flows down and it gets gentler and gentler and gentler. But it doesn't mean the lessons are any less important. It just means they may not be quite as intense or in your face, but certainly the lessons are there for each and every one of us to learn. So we're kicking off this 4-planet configuration with Saturn is leading the charge. Now, Saturn is the planet of discipline, of structure, of bringing limitations into our life, but it's also the limitations are there for a reason. You know, sometimes we can have the most brilliant, great, fantastic idea, but we have no idea how we're going to start it, where the middle bit is or where the ending is, that we need the structure, we need the platform, we need the solid sort of stable foundation underneath us, and that's what Saturn's doing. So Saturn's like the father figure, somebody that's supposed to be intelligent and has wisdom and guides us, and, you know, sometimes can be a bit too firm, but, you know, it's always for our own good because he's trying to teach us structure and patience and all those wonderful words that most of us don't like. And, it's grounding us. It's giving us that platform to sort of start to build upon. So it's really important. And it's important that Saturn is leading the charge here, not one of the other planets or the North Node. So Saturn is the leader. He's the engine driving the train. And he's saying to us that we need to be structured. We need to be confident, but we need to also make sure that we go slow enough that we fully understand what is ahead of us. Now, I'm talking about Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, and the opposite sign of Virgo. This will wash across the other 8 signs. So don't think that you miss out on this little treat of Saturn and his little merry band of friends following behind in Pisces. It affects each and every one of us. So the first conjunction is Neptune. Now, Neptune is the planet of illusion, delusion, creativity. It's also the planet that rules Pisces. So Neptune feels incredibly comfortable here. He's at home. He's able to kick his shoes off and lay back on the couch and sort of say, I'm home, I'm having a good time. But with Saturn sort of giving him a kick up the behind every now and then, sort of saying, come on, we've got work to do, we've got things to do, get your creative hat out of the closet. It's time to sort of start get working on some projects, starting to look at what it is that you want to bring into your life. The new year is well and truly underway now. We're in the second week of February, so there's no time to get slack. It's time to sort of ramp the engine up a little bit and let's get cracking with the things that you want to achieve in 2025. And that's really important. But you've also got to make sure that while you're doing this, that you're not hurting anybody else, you're not deceiving yourself in any way, but you're using your creative skills, your ability to think outside the square a little bit, or put your creative hat on, or sort of bring in some resources from the past that mightn't have worked maybe as well in other situations, but now is the perfect time for them to work. So it's a very, very creative time, and I want you to really sort of try and be as creative as possible. And creativity doesn't mean you've got to be able to paint a picture or write a song or sing a song. It just means your ability to sort of add some spark or some magic to what you're doing. And we all have a certain amount of creativity, but not all of us can paint a picture or play the piano. So that's really important. So sometimes get bogged down and say, oh, no, I don't have a creative bone in my body. Yes, you do. We all have a creativity there. It's just a matter of finding it, and it's applied in many different ways. Some people can bake the most beautiful cake and decorate it, and other people wouldn't have a clue where to start. But, someone else can do something that someone else can't do. We all have a certain amount of creativity. So the next conjunction, or the holding hands, is not actually a planet. It's the moon's north node. Now, where we see the north node in a chart is where we're aspiring to. It's what we're hoping to achieve. Now, with the North Node sitting in Pisces, this to me is we're trying to achieve our highest self. We're trying to sort of tap into our intuition, tap into our creativity, tap into sort of being amazing and sort of not judging anybody else, but looking at our own abilities and sort of saying, what can I improve? What can I bring to the table? What can I bring that's very, very different? And sometimes the North Node is associated with, not so much in a transit situation, but in a natal chart, in your own birth chart, as being karmic. Now, I don't want to bring the karmic slant into this here, because the North Node is just transiting through, and I'm doing what's known as a transit reading, and it's not necessarily on a karmic level. Some people may feel as if some of the situations that they're going to have got a karmic feel, or have a blockage there or something. Look, just try and work with it. Don't try and get bogged down on the word karma. Let's just work through it and say, this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm working through. I'm doing my very best. I'm moving things along to the best of my ability, and just sort of, break down those barriers in that way. If we start putting labels on things, I think we start putting blockages up and roadblocks that we don't need at this time. The North Node is showing us the way forward. It's not saying stop and have a read of the road signs and plop another 6 in there just for good measure. It's saying let's just keep working, let's just keep progressing, like moving forward. Everything's very fluid at the moment, and we want to keep it that way. The final conjunction, or the holding hands, here is Venus. Now, Venus is the planet of love and affection. Now, when we say love and affection, yes, it can mean relationships. It can be the person that we're in love with, the person we hold dear. We have loving relationships, hopefully, with our parents, our children, our siblings, our friends. But sometimes it's about just the love of life. It can be the things that we love to do. If you like to go for a walk in the woods, or you like to sort of go to the beach, or you like to go for a swim, or you like to go roller skating, or whatever, that can be a love too. It's a passion. It's something that puts a smile on our face. So when we're talking about the Pisces energy here, yes, it can apply to if somebody is looking for a new relationship. And let's go that way first. If you were looking for a new relationship, disregarding your sign, you would be looking for somebody that's going to bring some structure into your life, that's going to help you become more creative or see the more pleasant side of life. It's helping you sort of see the way forward and achieve your goals. So you'd be looking for a partner that would fit that bill. You would be looking for somebody that is maybe not necessarily a little bit older than you, but somebody that comes across that has got some sort of air of authority about them, or they're quite grown up, they're quite mature in their attitude, but at the same time they can appreciate the creative, the gentler side of life, the things that put a smile on your face, and they're helping you achieve those things, and vice versa, you would be helping them achieve that as well. But if we take it away from looking for a relationship, then we've got structure in our lives to bring, the creative juices together. We're being shown the way forward with projects that we might need to put a little bit of passion or a little bit of love, a bit of sparkle into it, and sort of, get it out to the universe and say, hey, look at me. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm hoping to achieve. I've been working really hard on this project or to get this thing off the ground. I'd like you to take a look at it. And that's good. So the final thing that we're going to talk about this week is Jupiter has gone direct. Now, isn't that amazing? We've been talking about Jupiter being retrograde in Gemini for such a long time now. Jupiter has just gone direct in the last 48 hours. So this means the planet of expansion, opportunity, and luck in Gemini is now going to move forward. Now, with Jupiter being in Gemini, it is affecting the air signs, which is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, and the opposite sign of Sagittarius. Now, this doesn't mean all of a sudden you're going to suddenly win the lottery or something like that. That'd be nice if that happened. But what it means is that things now that seem to have been stuck or, held up in some sort of way that have been stopping your life moving forward will now start to slowly break down and start to rev up and start to move forward. Now, we also have another Arabian part that is affecting this too. So this is known as the part of fortune. And I know when I first got into astrology many, many moons ago, I thought, oh, goody, that's where you find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, like the leprechauns talk about. But no, it's not that at all. The part of fortune is where you're bringing your life into a balance, where it feels like that you're very fortunate that things are starting to move. So to have the part of fortune actually conjunct Jupiter here in Gemini, and Jupiter is going direct again, it means things could go forward at a very, very fast pace of knots. And it's sort of like where everything's sort of felt stuck and not going anywhere. And then all of a sudden the engine ramps up and it's sort of full steam ahead. And it's like, wow, we get a bit caught off guard. So if you're one of these people that is affected particularly by those 4 signs that I was talking about, not so much for the others, then be prepared for energies to shift really, really quickly, things to move really quickly, and your life to sort of really sort of take off like a speeding train. And that's a good thing, because for many people, they've felt stuck now for some time, and it's nice to be able to sort of feel as if you're back in the driver's seat and things are starting to move forward. We're going to take our first caller now, and we're going to talk with Jacqueline in Seattle in Washington, USA. Are you there, Jacqueline? Hello, Jacqueline.
Hello.
Hi, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Yes, I do. One moment, please.
Can you repeat that for me, please, sweetie? Did you have a question, Jacqueline? Because I missed what you said first off, sweetie. You went all fuzzy. Okay. Look, Jacqueline's obviously not able to get through with us. I'll just go ahead and give Jacqueline a little general sort of reading, because we seem to have lost the connection there. Jacqueline, the first thing that I'm picking up is that I want to see you sort of get some momentum back in your life again. It's like you've been sitting there not necessarily feeling sorry for yourself, but you've been sitting there sort of waiting for some sort of divine sign to come down and bite you and say, right, now's the time, let's get cracking. This is what we need to do. Instead of waiting for that divine sign, I think what you need to do is get up and start the momentum yourself. You know, if there's projects that you want to get off the ground, then start to look at it. I'm being shown three in particular. They didn't give me any labels on what they were, but they were showing me three major areas of your life that need attention. And it's like, not necessarily is one more important than the other. It's sort of like whatever you're drawn to first, let's start the momentum on that. You know, you might be able to only go so far, and then we stop, and then we look at the next, you know, thing on the list, and we get, you know, moving with that as much as we can, and then we come to a stop, and then we move to the third one, and we keep going round until we've achieved what we need to achieve. They were also showing me by March this year, Jacqueline, there's going to be a very major decision to be made around where you're living. Now, I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to plan on moving. What I'm saying is whatever the major decision is coming up around where you're living, it seems to be something that you need to give a lot of thought to. So if it's the idea of maybe moving residence, then don't be in a hurry to make that happen. Give it a lot of thought. Look at all the pros and cons. My interpretation of this wasn't so much a move, but sort of maybe somebody moving out of the house, or maybe some changes coming up, you know, looking at maybe renovating or adding something new or changing the furniture around or something. I've got a real shift in energy, which is something I think that is very important, that you need to honour this. Now, again, I'm stressing you don't have to do it all in one day or 1 week. Just because the ideas come forward means it's time for you to sort of really just listen to what your guides are telling you, what they're sharing with you. Look for the signs, the symbols, and don't ignore them. Even if you don't understand them at the time, that doesn't matter so much. It's a matter of just working with what comes naturally. Sometimes I think we try and force things too much, where we're not allowing things to sort of move forward in our lives at their own pace, that we get an idea and we think, oh, good, I've got to have that all sorted by the end of the week. No, we don't. Just because an idea has come to us doesn't necessarily mean that we've got to execute it and have it all completed in a very short time frame. This year's going to be about the long game for you, Jacqueline. You know, ideas will come, we'll get a bit of a momentum, and then things will come to a stop. And then it's sort of like we pick up the ball again and we run with it again for a certain period of time, and then we stop again. It's not necessarily is everything going to be completed quickly. You've got to be prepared to play the long game. You've got to be prepared for stop-start sort of situations. The other thing that they were showing me, now I don't know what it is, and we normally don't talk about health, or I don't, because of so many governing laws around the world. But what they were showing me was whatever you've changed or whatever you've made different in your life in the last 6 months, whether it's diet, exercise, you've started eating carrots and you've cut out potatoes or whatever it might be, continue on with that, because your energy levels now are starting to sort of level themselves out, and there's a lot of internal sort of healing going on inside your body. I'm not saying we're going to make you 20 again, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of self-healing going on, and whatever the small changes are that you've made to your life, the adjustments that you made, they are helping this. And I want to see that sort of continue, because I think you've had a fairly, not so much a difficult life, but you've had a fairly full-on sort of life where, you know, you've been pulled from many different directions and not really had time to stop and give yourself time to assess things or process things, or even let the body heal at different times. And now's the time when we're allowing all of that to catch up, which is good, because I think it needs to, and this will sort of help you achieve the goals that I've been talking about. And, you know, it's a positive year for you. It's an action-packed year. It's a year where you're going to be really able to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. So I'm sorry, Jacqueline, I didn't get to talk to you in person. I hope that's helped you when you go back and watch the replay. So we're going to talk with Gladys in Coatesville in Pennsylvania. Are you there, sweetie?
Yeah, my friend John was.
Are you there, sweetie? Do you have a question I can answer for you?
I go home. I know, honey. I'm right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're having a few technical issues today. I apologise. We'll be moving on to our next caller very shortly. So it's interesting, you know, Mercury's going direct at the moment, but you think it was Mercury retrograde at the moment with the technical stuff that we've had going on today. But look, this is all part of the fun, and it makes the show interesting, and everybody knows then it's live. So that's good, because, you know, it is a live show. Oh, she's here now. Gladys, can I help you, sweetie?
Hello there.
Hello, sweetie. Do you have a question I can answer for you?
I'm in a new relationship, sort of, kind of, and I'm kind of wondering if it's going to lead anywhere.
Okay. Do you mind sharing with me the person's first initial, please?
J.
Okay, thank you. Just so that I can tune into their energy. Really, really interesting because I feel they sort of feel the same way you do. They're sort of hoping that it can be something much, much more, but they're still being sort of very realistic, very sort of sit on the fence a little bit, sort of wondering, not going too fast, sort of not knowing how you feel. It's sort of like we take two steps forward and one step backwards. Look, I think that's perfectly okay because, you know, you've both been hurt before in the past. And I think this is wise that you're taking things very slowly. Look, I really like this person. They've got a very, very kind heart. And look, they do you a good turn before they do you a bad turn. But I don't know that they move very fast. They don't make decisions quickly. It's sort of like it's, you know, like snail's pace as far as making decisions and particularly about emotional decisions or personal life. But I really like this person. You know, there's lots of laughter between the two of you. And I think that's something that's been missing out of your life for a very long time. So it's nice to
You're
see you
absolutely
smiling
right.
and laughing. What's Weddy?
I said, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and it's nice to see, isn't it? And it's nice to feel you laughing again. It's like we're taking layers off you of you know, some pretty hard years that you've had. And I'm not just talking about the last few years. I'm talking about a lot of years that, you know, weren't exactly a bed of roses. So this is really nice. Look, I think this is going to lead into a really happy, committed fairy tale. You know, you'll get the fairy tale ending, the happily ever after, and it's about time and it's well deserved. It's interesting because I feel that they've got lots of skills that they haven't shared with you yet. It's sort of like it's like peeling back the layers of an onion, but in a very sweet way. That as you get to know this person more, there's more and more beautiful sides to them, more and more talents that you didn't know that existed, that they sort of haven't shown you at all at the beginning. Like they've shown you so much, and it's like they're waiting for the right time for things to be revealed. But you've probably done the same too. You haven't given all of yourself in the first month either. You know, you're keeping a bit back because you don't want to be hurt again either. So, you know, I think the two of you are not only going to fall in love very, very deeply, but you're also going to heal each other from things of the past where people have let you down and have hurt you. And it's just, I don't know whether both of you can sing or you just like to sing, and even though you haven't got great voices, but there's lots of singing, lots of laughter, lots of happiness. It's sort of like a very joyful time together. And that really makes me happy to see that because I know that you haven't had the easiest of lives. And to have this is great. Um, I
The
think by
funny
the
thing
end
is
of
that
the
we were boyfriend and girlfriend when we were 17.
right. Oh, well, that's nice that you've
And
refound each other. Isn't it lovely?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
And maybe it wasn't right then when you were 17. Maybe the power of love then would have been too intense and you might have destroyed each other. You know, there's always a reason why people reconnect it later in life and, you know, go on to have this most amazing relationship that I'm seeing for you two. Because usually it means that, you know, in your teenage years, you couldn't have handled the intensity of the connection. So, you know,
Right.
it's probably a blessing in a sense that you didn't fall in love, get married, and have a family then, because you might have destroyed what is going to be this most beautiful love story. And what I was going to say was that I feel the two of you will be making a decision before the end of the year to live together and with the view of getting married. He's old fashioned. He wants to get married.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Yeah, he doesn't believe in this modern marriage stuff. He believes in, you know, they're good enough to sleep with, they're good enough to marry. And that's
Yes.
nice. That's respectful. I think that's really beautiful. You know, just, you know, look, for some people it's not for them, but for you two it is. You know, you believe in the sanctum of marriage, and that's, you know, the icing on the cake as far as cementing your relationship together. So does he have a house already?
Yes, yes, he does. He's got everything. He's got a house. He's got a truck. He's got two trucks. He's got everything.
Yeah, but I can see him sort of suggesting you moving to him with him into his house, but then he's also talking about if you don't like that, we'll get another one.
He sure did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, and that's nice because he's not just sort of saying, well, you know, it's take this or leave it. He's very considerate of how you might feel and what you might want. And so you said he's got trucks. Does he still drive them himself?
Yeah, he does. He's retired, but he drives for other people. Like we have a lot of Amish around our area, so he drives the Amish people around.
Yeah, but I can see him asking you to go with him on some of these little trips.
Right. Yes, he has, yes.
Yeah, and I want to say to you, I think it's fun. Like you go, yes, there's work to be done, but you pack a lunch and you have a bit of a picnic and, you're laughing and talking and singing and it just makes the day very pleasant. Look, I really like him. I think he's an amazing man and I think the two of you are going to have a lot of fun together. I think he's going to surprise you that he's actually quite good at baking. He hasn't told you that yet, has he? He hasn't baked.
No, he did tell me that. Yes, he did.
Yeah, but I can see him doing, particularly cupcakes was the sort of, the thing that I could see him making batches of them and decorating them up, and he has fun with that. Anyway, sweetie, that's where we've got to leave it. I wish you well. It's a lovely, perfect love story, and I'm so pleased you've reconnected even after all these years. It really makes my heart sing. And it's nice to see that, love can come at any stage in our life. We don't have to be teeny boppers to bring in love. Love finds us whether we're, 15 or 95. So this week I want to leave you with a very appropriate song, actually, for Gladys and her beautiful man. It's Lionel Richie and Diana Ross, and it's because it's the month of love, I thought we'll feature love songs this month, and it's called Endless Love, and it is a beautiful song. It's one of those timeless classic songs that it doesn't matter where you are, you hear that on the radio or somebody puts it on the turntable like I do, and you sort of just automatically feel that beautiful radiating love vibe, and you sort of, two of the most amazing singers. I have a real passion for Motown singers. They're sort of some of my favourites in all time in the world. I know I talk about other people, but I really do feel very passionate about Motown singers, and I've sort of always jokingly said to people around me, maybe I was part of Motown once upon a time in another lifetime, because I really do resonate with their style of music, and it really is very, very uplifting. So, of course, we're in the month of love. Do something nice, put a smile on your face, be open to the potential of, if you're single, that you might meet somebody soon and you might be like Gladys and her new man, and you might find your endless love. So until next week, bye for now.